envision that there are these neurons, little nerve cells in the VTA and nucleus accumbens. Those neurons make dopamine. They send their projections that we call axons, which are like little wires, and they can release dopamine into the prefrontal cortex. And now you already know, because you learned it a few minutes ago, that the prefrontal cortex then can ensure that certain behaviors take place and other behaviors do not take place. That shh or quieting that we talked about earlier. Dopamine works in our brain and body. And that analogy is this notion of a wave pool. If you've ever seen a wave pool, it's basically a concrete pool. And there are the baseline, that is the water level in that pool, stays more or less constant. I think this is an excellent analogy for how dopamine works in the mesocortical pathway as it relates to motivation and pursuit and all those sorts of things, because we really need to think about how the peaks and the baseline, and it's that drop below baseline that triggers the motivation to bring that dopamine level back up by going and pursuing the thing that you wanted in the first place. Now, of course, as this is happening in dopamine, but then here's the key thing. Very soon after I realized my desire for something, that peak that was caused by the desire comes down and drops below baseline, below the level of dopamine that it was prior to even thinking about the sandwich or the coffee or the glass of water. And it's that drop below baseline dependent craving and pursuit. Because remember, the prefrontal cortex is involved in context setting and craving and pursuit because it relates to action and movement, which is one of the general features of the dopamine system. So you can start to see how this is a beautifully designed system, and you can also see how it's a perfect system for desire and pursuit of anything, not just sandwiches, as I'm giving you in this somewhat trivial but everyday and therefore applicable example. So just by understanding reward prediction error and especially the types of people on a dating app that you'd like to see, whether or not they're responding to you, whether or not someone's texting you back or not, all of those cues are integrated and adjusting your baseline level of dopamine all the time, and indeed to reset your motivation in an ongoing way so that you can reach your goals. Okay, so let's take everything that I just told you and set it aside. It's still important, but let's just set it aside. You don't have to think about any of those details or names or anything. Let's just think about addiction, because